IBCN 2023.
Affordability and availability இது ரெண்டையும் சேர்த்து ஒரு காயின் பண்ணணும் ஒரு டேர்ம் அப்படின்னா அதுக்கு உதாரணமாக திகழ்கிற ஒரு நிறுவனத்தை ரொம்ப சக்ஸஸ்ஃபுல்லாக நடத்திக்கிட்டு இருக்கிற ஒரு நிறுவனத்தின் தலைவரை தான் நம்ம அடுத்து பார்க்க போகிறோம். இவரோட இன்சைட்ஸ் நமக்கு கிடைக்கிறது நிச்சயமாக ஒரு வரம் தான் சொல்லணும். ஒரு சாதாரண மரக்கடையாக ஒரு விளையாட்டு பொருள் விற்கிற கடையாக தொடங்கி அதுக்கப்புறமா இன்றைக்கி 60க்கும் மேற்பட்ட அவுட்லெட்ஸ் 18க்கும் மேற்பட்ட ஹைப்பர் மார்க்கெட்னு இவர் மலேசியா முழுக்க ஒரு சாம்ராஜ்யத்தையே நடத்தி கொண்டிருப்பவர்னு சொல்லலாம்.
ஆமாம், கண்டிப்பாக. அது மட்டும் இல்லாமல் இதற்கு முக்கியமான காரணம் என்ன அப்படின்னா சிஸ்டம்ஸ் அது சரியாக நிர்வாகத்தில் இருக்குது. அதாவது நேற்று கூட உரையில் சொல்லியிருந்தாங்க, 6 மாத காலம் நீங்கள் உங்கள் தொழிலை விட்டு வெளில போனாலும் உங்களுடைய தொழில் நடந்துக்கிட்டே இருக்கணும், அப்போ தான் உங்களோட தொழில் வெற்றி அடைஞ்சிருக்கு அப்படிங்கிறதுக்கான ஒரு உதாரணம் அப்படின்னு சொன்னாங்க. ஆக அந்த மாதிரி சிறந்த மனிதவள நிர்வாகத்தை கொண்டுள்ள ஒரு நிறுவனம்னா அதை நம்ம மைதீன் நிறுவனத்தை நம்ம சொல்லலாம். அதனைத் தொடர்ந்து சுபாஷ் பழனியப்பன் அவரும் இன்று பேசவிருக்கிறார். இவரை பார்த்துக்கிட்டிங்கன்னா ஒரு மிகப்பெரிய ஒரு டெக்னாலஜி என்தூசியஸ்ட் அப்படின்னு நம்ம சொல்லலாம். தொழில்நுட்பம் அப்படிங்கிறது எல்லாருடைய வாழ்க்கையிலுமே ரொம்ப முக்கியமான ஒன்றாக இருக்கிறது. இவர் இந்த தொழில்நுட்பத்தை ஒரு வாழ்க்கை முறையாகவே நடத்துபவர். இவர் மே பேங்க் நிறுவனத்தில் வேலை செய்யும் பொழுது நிறைய மாற்றங்களை கொண்டு வந்திருக்கிறார். அதனால மே பேங்க் நிறுவனமும் நீங்கள் பார்த்துக்கிட்டிங்கன்னா மிகப்பெரிய வெற்றியும் அடைஞ்சிருக்கு.
So let's go into the interactive session, Enhancing Human Resource in Growing Business. So we have Datuk Ameer Mydin, MD of Mydin Hypermarket chain with Subash Palaniappan. Let's give them a big hand.
Okay. So I think it's going to be quite difficult to meet up with the Father Jasper's speeches now. So we're going to try our best. So we're going to try to conduct this in English as much as possible. So with me is Datuk Mydin. I think no introduction is needed. The introduction is done quite well earlier about Datuk Mydin. And on myself, I think I know most of you. We have met before. We know each other. And here we're going to talk about enhancing, I wouldn't say enhancing HR, but it's more of people in organizations that we have. So we are going to make it as interactive as possible, and hopefully we do get questions from the crowd as well. So do ask away if there's something specific you want to know about what we're going to be talking about. Okay? So I think let me begin this. I'll play part moderator and also part participant in this. So one of the things that is critical for any organization, whether it's growing or a large organization like Maybank, is talent. Talent is critical, right? We spend months, if not years, trying to hire someone. We do hours and hours of interviews. We bring them in, and sometimes these really good people leave after a few months. And they love that period where you say you are now being tested and we're not going to confirm you yet. They will use it to their advantage. They might just leave, right? In your experience, how do you manage good talents?
Thank you. Thank you for introduction. I want to break this up into 2 parts, actually. Many of us are also family business. Many of us are in family business. So Mydin is also a family business. It's not only a challenge to retain talent outside. That means you employ people. It's equally challenging in the current scenario to retain talent within the family. Seriously. You would think that that's my son. That's my brother's son. Of course he will work with us. You expect that kind of things. But it doesn't work nowadays. It doesn't work. Okay, so how do you ensure first, if you think it's the right thing, because we always hope and we say, oh, I build up this, or for example, my father, of course, Mydin is my father. So I can only relate to Mydin here. my father's father is my Mydin. He said, I assume that my sons will. It's always, unfortunately for the ladies, it's always my sons will take it up. Because traditionally, my sisters obviously they got married and they always go on the other side somehow, right? They go to the husband's side. So how will he pass it down? That was easier for his part, on the first part. Okay, not so easy actually, because my 3 brothers decided to join my father, but I refused. So I went to work in the bank. I mean, I studied and whatever, and I worked in the bank. But somehow or another, after working in the bank for many years, integrity becomes an issue sometimes. Sometimes you have been asked to do something that you don't want to do. And I actually resigned. Okay? When I resigned, I didn't have anything, and I opened a small shop in Mydin, India. No money, had only one thing, my father's name. Okay? The father's name, if a good name, this is 40 years ago, a good name, he has done business with integrity. Surprisingly, when I asked my father, who's going to give me goods? He said, just put my name out there, people will give you goods. But make sure you pay the money back. Very important. Okay? That is my side. Now, how do we get our children, the same talent, because they all have gone to universities and whatever, to retain that talent and ask them to work with us? First, whether you want them to work with you in the first place or not. What we practice in Mydin, and I'm not going off your question, but I'm trying to see, relate to family business, because many of us traditionally have family business. Number one, we do not allow any of our children to join the family business after the university. We insist that they work for 5 years, excluding my eldest brother's son. That I think those days, you require them to work with you because you don't have anybody else to work with you. But when I came on board, none of the children were allowed to come. You had to go and work a minimum of 5 years. Then, do you want to come to work with us? Then you decide. So, some do, some don't. My son refuses. My son says, what kind of work you have? You go to work in the morning, you come back at night, I hardly know you anyway. So this is the part about retaining talent within the family, which is a big challenge. Okay, now back to how do you retain talent from the outside? I would relate that to culture. How you have the so-called, we call the Mydin culture, example, compared to maybe a Maybank culture, or M-Bank culture, or whatever. And I find culture, I think, is crucial. In Mydin, if anybody passes away, for example, I know. I have 6,000 employees, Any of the employee passes away, the employee's father, that means we go up, one father, mother, children, I know. I will know because I'll get a WhatsApp, right? Any one of them in the hospital, I will know. It is in the policy, imagine in our so-called policy, that if any of the staff is hospitalized, it is required, that the immediate manager must go to the hospital and visit him immediately with a basket of fruits, okay? Number 2, find out what happened, and how can we ensure. This is how you retain talent. Because if you treat your employees as family, and seriously, if there's any death, weddings are all the time, and I don't attend weddings. I try, but it's not possible to attend, right? Weddings are weddings. But death, I never miss. I will try somehow or another to go to the family house, if not for the so-called the ceremony. Okay? Either it's me or my brothers who are all in the business. So I think retaining things is if you treat your employee as a family member. And I always say this, I want staff who are willing to die for me. You know? Die for me means, I say, you go up to the 10th floor and jump. If I say jump, you jump. You see? Obviously, I'm not going to ask him to jump. But that means that thing is, if I say it, you will do it. So how do you get these people to do that kind of thing? It's a matter of how you have been treating them as a family. I'm sure as a family, when you say family, if your brother says, go, you go. If your father says, sit down, you sit down, you know. You cannot do this, you follow, right? It's the same thing. You can say, is it a dictatorship? You know, not really. But if you have built up that respect within the family, I think it goes a long way, that culture. And I find this. You see, talent comes and talent goes, obviously. And we encourage people. But what I found so far is that a lot of people have left Mydin over the years, and many have come back. Many have come back, you see. You go and you come back, and we take you at our old pay. It's not that you go after 1 year, you don't like where you work, and you come back and you say, hey, I'm earning extra 2,000, you have to pay me more. I said, no, we don't do that, because then the current employees will get very upset. So for your short question, my long answer.
Thank you so much. But I think just taking on to what you just said, right? Strong family-like culture that's embedded, which is good. I think that's strong. Like, if you look at a much larger corporate setting, like maybe Maybank, or you know, the cultural identity is probably not present. Maybe when it was smaller, there was a very strong cultural identity. But for today, most people join. They're asked to do something, and they expect to do that autonomously. I mean, they should be given autonomy, independence to think, independence to learn on their own without being instructed as much. But there was no strength in culture there. There was no culture. I mean, like if you look at Maybank, MBB, the joke that is in Maybank, for example, is meeting banyak-banyak, right? And the only culture there is just meetings, right? And as I work with other organizations, it's the same thing. They may have a vision to draw the culture together, but the vision is usually a paper-based exercise to fill up a website, to say this is what we stand for, but no one really gets drawn to that culture. There's no culture that's being defined. There's no time taken to define anything. It's more like you come in, this is your job, this is what you do. Do you see that happening more now?
The fear is that it is, and I fear that it might be happening in Mydin itself.
Oh, okay.
It might be happening. Okay. The only advantage or disadvantage, and I asked staff, why you come back? How bad was it in the competitor, or what is it? You say, yeah, I can come and talk to you. You see, you can come and talk to me. Right. You see? And seriously, I have only one phone, and also one wife, obviously, you know. But I have only one phone. And I give my call cards, to whoever, and my handphone number is there. And people sometimes get shocked. You say, you put your handphone number. Sometimes people ask me, which is your real phone number that I can call you? I say, but I have only one number. You know? Why not? Yeah. Why do you fear of people calling you? Especially if you're in business. Especially in business. You want constructive feedback. I mean, there are some people who tend to call you at 11 at night and you want to complain something, unfortunately. Or you get some sweet lady calling at 11 at night, and my wife is next to me sleeping. She says, who in the world is a woman calling you and say, Assalamualaikum, Datuk, sihat tak? Finish lah, you know. But end of the day, you want to know what's happening on the ground. And many of us in the corporate world, when I was working in the bank, or when I'm an ex-banker myself, okay, cool, in the cool, you know. We call bankers, of course, fair weather bankers, you know, and which is really true, which is unfortunately really, really true. And I've lived my life. I mean, if you look at during the COVID crisis recently, staff, you need bankers to help you. Bankers have been with you for years. They withdraw your facilities. And they say that, I think staff, we didn't think that retail will suffer, you know. Now we realize it suffers. So we will withdraw or cut down. So it's unfortunate. But back to the culture and, you know, these kind of things. You have to be able to keep in touch with people. Of course, the current technology helps. Your WhatsApp or whatever, it helps. But it also puts you away from the human touch. So, you know, it is important when you send out your WhatsApp messages, please draft them yourself and probably don't use your ChatGPT to do it. You know, I mean, a robot is a robot. A copy and paste is a copy and paste. You know, I refuse to do that. You know, once I was giving one of those talks or whatever, and then, you know, there is a book called Mydin, the Untold Story, which if you have a chance, you can walk into a Mydin store and buy it, obviously, you know. But after that so-called talk, and we put the books out, and some people bought it, you know. They said they always ask for an autograph. If the owner, I mean, first the book is not written by me, it's written by my wife, okay? Written by my wife, okay? She loves writing, she loves reading, and she has that thing to write a book. I can talk, but I don't think I can write as well. I probably need the ChatGPT to help.
Yeah, try it, it'll help you.
But the main thing I want to point out is that each one that gave me a book to autograph, I actually look at his face. And besides asking his name, I wrote something about him. You know, I said, you know, hey, you have a beautiful smile. I mean, I can't go further than that. I probably don't know you well enough. But something characteristic that you notice. And you know people's character. I mean, you can look at a person and you can somehow have that feel, you know. That guy is fake, that guy is really honest, this guy is sincere. And you do that. I think that emotional attachment that you do, it is very important. And this is how you retain people. And people go and come and, you know, share whatever it is. But I think this is the crux of the matter. Right?
Okay, all right. I mean, fantastic. I think, like, even in my personal experience, I mean, I was with Maybank for 7 years, but I left last year. And I would say one of the reasons for leaving is, as Daniel Pink, and I think some of you may have read his book, he says the 3 reasons or 3 motivations for anyone to stay in a company is you have mastery, you have autonomy, and you have purpose. And in those 3 things, money doesn't factor in. It's never about how much you're paid. It's about whether you're learning new stuff, which is mastery. Do you have autonomy to make your own decisions? And do you see purpose, which is like this culture, what you just spoke about, right? Do you see purpose? So on this, like for me, one of these things got lost, right? The autonomy was starting to dissipate. Too much instructions, too much meetings. So it felt like, you know, I needed more autonomy, hence I left. But on the topic of mastery, which is what I do right now with a lot of organizations, which I train teams and get them to learn new stuff. And learning is a continuous journey. I find that mastery is difficult because people are sent for training with no apparent reason. They're sent and then they cannot apply the learning, right? And there's so much to learn today. You could even run a class just on how to use ChatGPT today. I'm sure there's a training out there that's already done it. So how do you get people to learn? I mean, sending them for training is one, but how do you get them or motivate them to learn more, continuously learn? Yeah.
You know, we have in Mydin itself, we have set up a so-called Mydin Retail Academy, so-called. People are surprised that we have a retail academy. And I get people all the time, they say, oh, I'm a trainer. Come, I can give training to your staff. we never call these outside people to train our staff, unless you want some spiritual training, you want to call father here to say, come, give a speech on something else, But otherwise, our trainers are all in-house. Because when you call people from the auto industry, they will give you an example about the auto industry, which this guy here doesn't relate. Hey, my job is to stack boxes every day, what does that auto industry got to do with it? If I call somebody from Maybank, if I call you, your experiences will be different. I could only call you to say that, my God, you know so much about technology and we feel so far behind. What are the apps available out there? I mean, your half-hour coffee conversation just now while waiting, you start coming out, there's this app and that app and this app. I say, oh my goodness, I'm so way behind. I mean, the other day I met him for coffee, he already gave me 2 apps. I don't know how many more apps there are out there.
I'll send you a proposal soon.
to train. I was seriously thinking about it. I said, I should actually call you to tell us how many apps are there, and which apps are relevant to retail, seriously retail, and how do we use it? Because we, of course, have to equip ourselves. I mean, people say, okay, I'm on TikTok, and I'm on this or that. But it is also trying to equip yourself. I mean, one, it keeps you young, because it's fun. It's fun. I mean, everything you do, it has to be fun, If the day you say, I'm going to work, is work, you have stopped working already. I mean, people ask all the time, I say, what do you do during your free time? I said, I'm going to office. That is my time, because I enjoy. And, in Malaysia, we got so many holidays, I mean, we have, of course, Thaipusam is a holiday. The election, they give you a holiday. We win a football match, they give you a holiday. And every time they give holidays, me and my wife also works, says, are you another holiday? We want to go to work because we actually enjoy working. But I want to say one thing about family business. I find this a very important thing. And that in life, try to avoid to have your wife as a working partner, or your husband for the matter. Seriously. If you want to grow old, happily ever after, all right, please avoid that. I find it so stressful, because my wife, being a lecturer and whatever, and I thought of good sense, being a psychologist, and I took her in, I said, why don't you join us? She says, no, I don't want to work with you, the way, you have no heart, I used to be a very hard, and I think the softness I've got is all from my wife, seriously. Because to me, everything is money. Anything is money, money, and money. All I talk about is money, And all she talks about is social. No, we must help, we must do this, we must do that. I think that's why I think that softness comes from her. But when she joined HR, and I think the toughest job in any organization is being the HR manager. Seriously, right? Because to do business is very easy, seriously. You buy something for $1 and you decide whether, depending on the business you are in, for Mydin, $1 is $1.10, or $1.15. $2, $2.20. That's what we do. If you are in F&B, then $1 becomes $4. Fine. So easy. I mean, it's not that difficult to do. But to manage people, to understand, and the current millennium, which I refuse to understand. Okay? And I think, seriously, the COVID has done a lot of good. Because these high-flying young kids suddenly realize that they actually have to work, that they actually have to work, because they went out of job. They went out of job, so they couldn't afford to go to the Starbucks, and they actually realized that there is such a thing as out of job, and normally the current, what they say, if they get out of job, okay, the father is okay, my son, I can help you out. But in the COVID scenario, the father also was out of job. I mean, because it was tough. I mean, everybody had a tough, except the civil service in Malaysia, lah. Okay? Forgetting that, everybody has suffered. So this suffering has toughened. I was very worried about the so-called that generation, because they say they're having life too easy. They walk in, they're from a university, they come in and they say, oh, I want $4,000, $5,000. I say, you don't even know how to photostat the paper, and you want that kind of salary. I refuse this kind of thing, but I think this COVID thing has done good. I think this is very good. Sometimes we really have to go down and, I'm sure, like we all say, God has his reasons. And those who have survived have toughened up. And we have learned that everything is not rosy, rosy, rosy. So.
Excellent. I mean, so one key takeaway is that you can run a family business, but probably not your spouse in the family, the business.
You see, not your spouse, this is one thing. But we have very strict rules in Mydin. Seriously, okay? If I travel, the company pays for everything. That means if I travel, because I'm going always for business, okay? If the wife follows, I have to pay for the ticket. So if my brother goes for business, he said, lonely lah, I bring my wife along. Fine, bring your wife along. You better pay for it. But we don't go and say that, hey, that the hotel room also must pay half lah, no lah. Or makan. It's okay, I mean, we can't be splitting hairs here. But you pay for it. Yeah. And if you travel, say we're going to China and you say, we're flying so far, let's take 2 days off.
Right.
Take extra 2 days off. Oh, you better pay for it. Everything we take from the shop is the same price as the staff take. We actually have to apply for leave. And all of us punch card. We actually thumb print.
You do have it still?
We have it. Okay. All of us must thumb print. And the HR guy, no respect for directors, sends a letter to the director. Says that you have not been, punching card, or you've been coming late, and please explain, why you left at 4 o'clock. You're supposed to leave at 6, you see. But leadership is by example. Leadership is by example. And I think only yesterday I attended something, and I mean, most of us know Tun Mahathir, and for him, punctuality is it. So it was 2:30, and that guy walks in at 2:25, you see. And, every other minister function that we go to is 2:30, he walks in at 3 o'clock, But this guy, I mean, 98 years old, walking down and coming up higher than this stage, unaided. I mean, we salute him. But I'm saying that punctuality, which is discipline, which is what we also practice in Mydin, seriously. I mean, all the staff, I've been told, seriously, that you come for the meeting. If the meeting's at 9, you better be there 10 minutes before 9. Because how do you start a meeting at 9? Because obviously, if I say, like how we were early, I mean, many of you were not, okay? And we started 45 minutes late, all right? Because of many of you, right? So you have delayed the time clock by 45 minutes, But we were there half an hour early, right? And I was here 45 minutes early in my car outside, because I didn't want to come suddenly. The organizer's not even ready, right? So I waited outside in the car, because knowing KLCC, knowing the jam outside, and things do happen, like you mentioned, there's a bicycle race out there, right? So that is discipline. I mean, whether HR topic or whatever, discipline is the essence of life, And when you have a meeting at 9, if you don't come at 10 to 9, how do you start? Because obviously when you come, you say, hey, how are you? Yeah, we lost the game like yesterday. You have that emotional touch and hi, whatever. There goes your 5-10 minutes. Then you start at 9. Yeah. I mean, this is life, right? Yeah. And if you are not disciplined in life, I don't think you can be successful, whether it's an entrepreneur or entrepreneurship or what are you talking about. Yeah.
That's very true. And I think in my case, I don't have an issue with the spouse because she doesn't, until today, doesn't understand what I do for a living. So don't my kids as well don't understand what I do. All they know is where I wear a t-shirt and jeans and I go to work, and it was like, how can you go to work with t-shirt and jeans? They don't understand. But on that, right? Thank you so much for sharing. So I think we don't have that much of time. I'm going to open the floor to questions, if there's any from anyone. That's the question right at the back. We can, yeah.
Shall I?
Okay, do you want to take the question first? Then you can, yeah.
Okay, I am 𝗵𝗲𝗁 from Chennai. See, after the era of e-commerce, people stop going to retail outlets and purchasing products throughout worldwide. So, how do you see this scenario for Mydin?
Thank you. You know, this has been talked about many times, especially if you remember, you had VCDs. You know, the DVDs, VCDs became DVDs. The VHS became the VCDs, VCDs became. Each time this came up, what did people say? The cinemas are dead. Nobody going to go. Who wants to go to the cinemas? You just pay the 10 ringgit, 5 ringgit, or the pirated ones. You put it in your house and you watch the whole movie. But did the cinema, are they closed? They are not. Then we have Netflix. And I think many of us have Netflix, right? And everybody says, once the Netflix comes, the Amazon Prime, right? Or whatever comes, theaters are finished. But are they finished? They're not. Because don't forget, forgetting the robotic part of it, we're all humans, you know. We're all humans, you know. We need that human, that emotional part of life. The minute we lose that, we are no more human, right? So we still need to go shopping. We still need to go for the movies. We still need to go for the makan. You could be served by a robot, right? You could be giving your orders via an app, which I seriously refuse to do it. You know, because they have certain things, and I don't want the 𝗕𝗘𝗟𝗃 kurang manis, you know. I want the 𝗕𝗘𝗟𝗃 kurang manis. Because the 𝗕𝗘𝗟𝗃 kurang manis is very sweet, you know. And there's no app, there's no part that says, it just says 𝗕𝗘𝗟𝗃 or 𝗕𝗘𝗟𝗃 kurang manis. It doesn't say 𝗕𝗘𝗟𝗃 kurang manis, which you can only explain to the waiter. So to answer your question, no doubt. We have to be with the technology. We are also online. We are, of course, trying to go more aggressively online. We didn't go so fast because the old me says, come on, you know, why? You know? But end of the day, people will buy online, and people are buying online, you know. But people will still go shopping, okay? People tend to think that the brick and mortar businesses dies when it's online. They don't. If it did, Amazon will not buy brick and mortar, you know. And what is Amazon worried about? It's not about other. They're worried about Walmart. Because Walmart, that's one thing when you have brick and mortar, right? And that's one thing about online. The highest cost, the cost of product for everybody is always the same. The highest cost is your logistic cost. And if you are Walmart, or that's like if you are a Mydin, we have a store in every state. Every state we have a store. If we do online in Kelantan, the logistic cost for us, the last mile, will be the lowest compared to someone sitting here in central KL and trying to do online. And it will obviously be faster, right? So that's exactly what Walmart is doing, and actually that's exactly what Mydin's is planning to do and trying to do is that every store becomes an e-commerce site where it supplies goods from that site itself. So if you have got 62 stores, can you imagine the logistic cost that you save if somebody wants where you are? I mean, obviously we don't have 1,000 stores, right? But we are in every main town. No, we are in Kelantan, Terengganu, Johor Bahru, everywhere. So at the end of the day, technology, if used to your benefit, okay, fine. But don't make technology a slave to you, all right? I mean, you have self-scan, like you have stores that you can actually self-scan, okay? Actually, Mydin, we started the self-scan 10 years ago, and I lost $2 million because people refused to do self-scan. I lost it. I had to shut it down. I had a premium store I opened up and I used self-scanners. Surprisingly, people would think that self-scanners are used by the younger generation. We found that the retired fellas enjoyed it more. Self-scanning, buying things, okay? And then we had to close it off. We were, sometimes you are too advanced. You try to do something, it hasn't caught up. But of course now, if you go to Subang, you can self-scan. Self-scan. You can pay and self-scan. And the main thing about self-scanning is that you need to force people to self-scan. You have to force people to self-scan because if you allow cashiers to be there, people still go to the normal cashier. So you make longer queues at the cashier, the people tend to self-scan.
Okay, I think that double ring there is to say that we've run out of time. Do we have time for just one last question over there? So I'm looking at the organizer.
Hi.
Yeah, can.
Dato, my name is 𝗧𝗃𝗍 Marketing 𝗵𝗲𝗃. As you said, taking care of employees as though you're a family member will ensure the business stability, progress, everything. I agree with you. But I'm doing a trading business whereby I have about 30 employees working for me, half foreigners, half local guys. Foreigners is okay. I know how to take care of them. Even I know how to take care of local guys, but the problem is local employees, how good we take care of them also, they are not so loyal to the company. Even to the core, they go and damage the boss name outside. My boss is not so good. I hope you understand my question. How even we are taking care of taking them at least once a year for 5-star buffet dinner as annual dinner. But still, I couldn't get the loyalty from the guys, from the local guys. How to solve this problem?
I think it's the once a year 5-star dinner that causes them to lose the loyalty. People say, hey, how come Mydin don't give bonuses? Then companies give bonuses, right? They give you 1-month bonus. My competitors give. We did give bonus many years ago, and I found that it's such a short-term kind of thing. It's just like an adrenaline jab, You give it to them, oh, thank you. Within 15 days, they've forgotten they got a bonus. And they are back to tak cukup gaji lah. End of the day, they say tak cukup gaji. So, not enough. Sorry for those who, not enough lah. My salary is never enough. So you need to pay them. But seriously, this once a year thing doesn't work, That's why I think to me the culture of a family is important, To manage children is important, to manage family business is important. I just want to say one thing is that, we have, the directors, the so-called, and some of the children are working with us, right? Most important thing, and I think all of us know in family, is to eat together. We have a room in Mydin, in Subang, where we have lunch together. All of us have lunch together. Whoever is available will have lunch together. That makes a lot of difference because it irons out all tension, Whatever you want to say, you say there lah. Hey, why you do like that? Why you do like this? And you explain there and get it over with over good food. And the food is from the house. That means each wife, whoever wife want to cook, and the nephew enjoy the wife's cooking or whatever, they cook for 2 people, then you eat together and you enjoy. I think this kind of eating together is not only good. Of course, obviously, you're supposed to have breakfast with your children and dinner with your children also, which is very lacking in the current life we're living. But when my children were growing up, and they tend to run away, my wife insisted that you must have dinner at home, then you go and have your second dinner with your friend, I don't care. But, I think if you manage the cultural part of it, whether it's local and foreigners, foreigners are sometimes more difficult. They become big headache sometimes because they think they're too good and they get asking for more money, otherwise I go back. Anyway, thank you.
Thanks for the answer and the question as well. And to echo what you were saying, I think that culture part, because if you look at even larger organizations, you look at department to department, they're running like different companies. The stronger departments are the one exactly like what Dato said, right? The stronger department is when the department head doesn't behave like a boss. Department head behaves like a family member. And one of the things that I found very effective when we tried this out in large organization is that we got rid of long tables where you always have a head of a table at the end and usually a special chair there, which changed it into a circular table, just like exactly what you have here. So apparently science shows that when you sit around, everybody seemingly becomes equal. Everybody seems to be equal, like family dinners and stuff like that. So imagine that being in a corporate setting, it would actually turn things around. People don't see a head of a table who's going to pay for it or whatever, but it's around and everyone's equal and plays the same part, foreign workers, local workers. So to echo what he said, I think it's absolutely right, the culture, the family, and one other bigger takeaway is don't get your spouse in, but you get the family in, but don't get your spouse in. But apart from that, thank you very much. Thank you, Dato', and thank you for the questions, and thank you for paying attention.
Thank you, Dato', for your insights, and I'm sure everyone would have enjoyed it. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and join us.
Yes. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause to Datuk Ameer Mydin and Mr. Subash Palaniappan.
So discipline is the essence of life-ங்கிறத ரொம்ப அழகா சொல்லிட்டு போயிட்டார் அவர். ஒழுங்குங்கிறது இருந்ததுன்னா எல்லா இடத்துலையுமே மிக நேர்த்தியாக எந்த ஒரு பிஸ்னஸாக இருக்கட்டும் இல்லை நம்ம வேலை செய்கிற இடமா இருக்கட்டும், ஒழுங்குங்கிறது ரொம்ப முக்கியம். இங்கே இருக்கிற நிறைய பேரை வச்சு வேலை வாங்குற பணியில் இருக்கீங்க. அது எவ்வளோ சிரமமானது, ஏன்னா நம்ம ஒழுங்காக இருந்தால் தான் நமக்கு கீழே இருக்கிறவங்க ஒழுங்காக இருப்பாங்க அப்படிங்கிறத ரொம்ப அழகாக சொல்லிட்டாரு. ஆனால் இப்போ கேட்டவங்களுக்கெல்லாம் அந்த ஒய்ஃபோட கூட போகக்கூடாதுங்கிறது தான் ரொம்ப மனசில் பதிஞ்ச மாதிரி தெரியுது. அதை தான் ரொம்ப கூர்ந்து கவனிச்சுக்கிட்டாங்க நிறைய பேர். நிறைய மாற்றங்களை எதிர்பார்க்கலாம், ஆனால் விடாதீங்க, அவங்க பின்னாடியே போகவே ட்ரை பண்ணுங்கள். அப்போ தான் இந்த மாதிரி பிஸ்னஸ் கான்ஃபரன்ஸ்க்கெலாம் அவங்கள தொடர்ந்து பிடுங்கிக்கிட்டே இருந்தால் தான் அதுவும் நல்லாயிருக்கும்.